Meanwhile, a former Chief Minister, Edapadi Palanisamy, begins his fight back.
The big comeback campaign by EPS has well and truly begun.
These are all the ultimate players, and this is going to be the ultimate test.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold ICICI for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India and across the world. Connect live, ask, decide and invest wisely.
Your portfolio, your future. Ask Profit.
But I'd like to start this off by asking you, Vishnu, what you think about the whole question of India not having stealth fighters right now.
It's a huge
Everyone's
problem.
trying to sell them to us as well.
It's a huge problem, Shiv. Let's face it, in as much as we love the Rafale aircraft and the Indian Air Force is completely vouching for it, perhaps they'd like more than 100 more. The Indian Navy has just gotten into an order for 26 Rafale M aircraft. There is a generation gap between the Rafale and the stealth. There is a good reason why a stealth platform is called a 5th generation aircraft and a Rafale is a 4th or 4.5 generation aircraft, and that is low observability. So in as much as the Rafale has brilliant sensors, both in terms of its radar, its defensive suite, its electronic warfare suite, its towed array decoy system, it is not typically a low observability platform in quite the same manner in which a stealth aircraft is. Its design form is different. And therefore, if Pakistan does have low observable aircraft, which would be the J-35, in fact, the first ones might even start entering service or coming into the PAF ahead of entering service at some time this year, then India is in trouble.
So
Why?
this year? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first could actually start coming in this year. They're really pushing for it. And they've gotten apparently into some agreement with the Chinese to ensure that the funding is done on very loose and terms favorable to Pakistan, as has been in the case in the past. If Pakistan starts acquiring low platforms which are low observable, in other words, stealth platforms, then that's an additional headache for the Indian.
Welcome back. You're watching World 24/7 with me, Arjun, and these are your global talking points for the day. Trump's big comment on India trade deal says close to securing full trade access into India, much like Indonesia. The NATO chief issues big warning to China, India and Brazil, says 100% secondary sanctions for Russia trade partners. Jaishankar's sharp anti-terror pitch at SCO calls for uncompromising action against terrorism. Big relief for nurse Nimisha Priyas on death row in Yemen. Execution postponed until further notice. And after British Columbia, Canada's Alberta seeks terror label on Lawrence Bishnoi gang. We've got breaking news coming in from Punjab, where in a major breakthrough in the veteran marathon Fauja Singh hit-and-run case, the Punjab police have arrested one Amritpal Singh Dillon late Tuesday. He's been identified as an NRI. Dillon was arrested in Kartarpur, which also happens to be his hometown. He'd in fact recently returned from Canada and was the one driving the SUV at the time of the accident. Furthermore, Dillon has admitted that 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 114-year-old Fauja Singh was indeed hit by his car in Punjab's Jalandhar. 1 He further told police that the accident happened while he was returning home after selling his phone in Bhogpur area. Meanwhile, my colleague Gurpreet joins us for latest on this. Gurpreet, what's the latest you're picking up, and what has the accused in fact told the cops?
Well, we have seen the police was not able to get any CCTV camera footage, but they were able to get some parts of damaged vehicle, which were the main lead for the police to get this case investigated. We have seen from that specific part, they were able to find out the make of the vehicle, and finally, late in the evening, we have seen they have already got the registration number of that vehicle. What we have learned when they had conducted a raid, they have already arrested the accused, who is also NRI, and now they are trying to explore more angles. But it's very clear that the vehicle was very at a high speed when it met with an accident, and Fauja Singh Sarari, who is the iconic runner, he was being killed by hitting on the road, which is this accident which has been taken place on the national highway that is from Pathankot to Jalandhar. So let's see that how the investigation will be unfolded. But as of now, what we have learned, the accused has been arrested by the police, and further investigation is already underway.
Thank you so much for getting us the latest there. Moving on now, President Donald Trump has said the US is now close to securing a full trade access to India. Now, that's something he claims America has never had before. He said we're going to have access into India, and also added that we had no access into any of these countries, and now we do because of what we are doing with tariffs. Now, Trump did not give full details, but framed it as a major breakthrough, adding that past US administrations have failed to, in fact, open Indian markets. New Delhi is a fast-growing economy and a key player in tech, manufacturing, and even pharmaceuticals. Now, full trade access could very well mean huge opportunities for American businesses. Now, Trump also hinted more deals are coming, saying access to global markets is being unlocked one by one.
So we made a deal with Indonesia. I spoke to their really great president, very popular, very strong, smart. And we made the deal. We have full access to Indonesia, everything. As you know, Indonesia is very strong on copper. But we have full access to everything. We will pay no tariffs. So they are giving us access into Indonesia, which we never had. That's probably the biggest part of the deal. India basically is working along that same line. We're going to have access into India. And you have to understand, we had no access into any of these countries. Our people couldn't go in. And now we're getting access because of what we're doing with the tariffs. So they're paying 19% and we are not paying anything.
Well, my colleague Rishabh joins us for more on this. Rishabh, is there any statement you're picking up from the Indian side? And, you know, we heard Trump there. Why is he saying that there has never been such access when it comes, speaking about India?
Right, Arjun, a pretty major statement coming in from Donald Trump last night. And this gives us some sort of an idea on what an India-US trade deal might look like. This is the sort of negotiations that have been going on, but clearly US very much batting for full access to Indian market. That is something that is that is one of their top requirements from this trade deal. But a little deep dive into what the deal with Indonesia looks like. There is a 19% tariff on Indonesian goods. That means that any Indonesian goods entering the US will have to pay 19%, but any US goods entering Indonesia will have to pay 0%. And what Trump has said is that a deal with India will work on the same lines. That means we can expect a sub 20% tariff that Indian goods will have to pay to enter US. But clearly, US is batting for a zero or a nil tariff when it comes to US goods entering India. So we could see something like that, some equation like that coming up in the India-US trade deal. It is true that India's markets have been highly regulated so far. Access has been very highly regulated, but that is something that the Trump administration is looking to break via these new trade deals. We're seeing that in the run-up to August 1st, talks have intensified. Indian negotiators are in Washington as we speak, and we're getting more and more details, and we will hear on some sort of a mini trade deal or an interim trade deal by August 1st.
Well, thanks there for putting things in perspective. Rishabh, a mini trade deal, of course, expected by the 1st of August. Now, shifting gears here, but staying with US. Now, in a sharp warning Tuesday, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has said countries like China, India and Brazil could face crippling secondary sanctions if they keep doing business with Russia. Now, Rutte was speaking on Capitol Hill after meeting with US senators. He said the message is clear: call Putin, push for peace, or face the fallout. Now, this warning follows President Donald Trump's announcement of massive new weapon support for Ukraine and a bold 50-day ultimatum to Moscow. If there's no peace deal, buyers of Russian exports could face as much as 100% tariffs. Meanwhile, Senator Tom Tillis praised the move but raised red flags over the 50-day delay, saying it could give Putin time to murder, gain ground, and then bargain from strength again. Meanwhile, Rutte emphasized Europe is all in, footing the bill for the new US weapons, from air defense systems to missiles and even ammunition this time. Final decisions, however, on long-range weapons are still in the works. Now, this marks a sharp global escalation and comes as a clear message to Russia's top trading partners.
If Russia is not
India.
If Russia is not serious about peace talks, within 50 days, he will slam secondary sanctions on countries like India, China and Brazil. So my encouragement to these three countries particularly is, if you live now in Beijing or in Delhi, or you are the president of Brazil, you might want to take a look into this, because this might hit you very hard. So please make the phone call to Vladimir Putin and tell him that he has to get serious about peace talks, because otherwise this will slam back on Brazil, on India and on China in a massive way.
At the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's foreign ministers meeting in China, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar made it clear that the fight against terrorism must be non-negotiable. Citing the April 22 Pahalgam attack, where 26 civilians were targeted and killed, Jaishankar said the assault was aimed at derailing Kashmir's fragile tourism economy and sowing religious discord. With foreign ministers from across the region present, including Pakistan's Ishaq Dar, Jaishankar did not hold back. Viewers, he urged SCO countries to act together and bring those responsible to justice. The EM's message could not be clearer. The SCO was built to fight terrorism, separatism and extremism. It must now live up to that purpose. Now, this all comes before world leaders, including PM Modi, gather in Tianjin for the SCO Leaders Summit. And the execution of Nimisha Priyas has been postponed, with hectic parleys underway in Yemen in a last-ditch effort to, in fact, save the nurse from Kerala, who was sentenced to death by local authorities for killing a man who was harassing her. Priyas' execution was scheduled for today, July 16th, viewers, but it has now emerged that the murdered man's family has finally been convinced to postpone it till further notice. However, this does not mean she would be released or be sent back to India. She is currently in Sana'a, the Houthi-held capital of Yemen. Meanwhile, New Delhi does not have any sort of diplomatic relations with the Houthi rebels.
यमन में एक कत्ल हुआ, वो कत्ल के बाद कोर्ट में जाके केस हुआ। वो केस में एक औरत का नाम है निमिषा प्रिया, वो नॉन मुस्लिम है। वो या उसको कत्ल करने का हुक्म हुआ है। वहाँ का वलमा से बोल दिया, इस्लाम में कत्ल के बजाय दियत देना, कवद देना, ये भी है।
A judicial order has been passed by the Yemen judicial system, means postponing the execution proceedings against Ms. Nimisha Priyas until further orders. So now we have got the breathing time, and we would be proceeding with the negotiations with the victim's family, and we can pursue the victim's family with our offers, and we are ready to means tender our unconditional apology to the victim's family and seeking pardon from the victim's family by paying the blood money. So yes, we are hopeful we can save Nimisha Priya from the gallows by effective negotiation process.
My colleague Ghazali joins us for more on this. Ghazali, at literally an 11th hour decision there, the postponement or the scrapping, in fact, of that death sentence. How does the road ahead look for Nimisha Priya?
See, the family of the victim, Talal al-Mahdi, his family, local tribal leaders, and the Yemeni cleric who was contacted by this Kerala-based Grand Mufti, and the officials of the Indian embassy in Saudi Arabia, they are all in touch. Hectic negotiations went on to postpone this scheduled execution, which is scheduled for today. She has got a reprieve. She has not been released yet. Further also, talks will go on. Perhaps the family will be convinced to pardon Nimisha Priya as a goodwill gesture, but that road is really tough ahead. But Indian embassy officials, as well as this Grand Mufti who has contributed a lot by contacting his counterpart in Yemen, they are all hopeful that perhaps a long time has also passed since this crime was committed, and there was no long-term enmity. Nimisha Priya was not a Yemeni citizen as well. Under certain circumstances, she was forced to take such extremist step. So that is why they are all hopeful that perhaps they have now got more time. Negotiations will go on, talks will go on to convince the family to grant pardon to Nimisha Priya.
Well, thank you so much for that, Ghazali. And with that, it's time we slip into a short break. Much more on the other side.
Some say sport is a matter of life and death. The truth is, it is far more serious than that. Sport is about ecstasy and agony, about pain and suffering, about joy and much more. Some say there's no one better to tell these stories. So here I am. Join me, Boria Majumdar, on India's #1 news network.
कोई जरूरत तो उसको इंटरव्यू देने की।
गायकवाड़ साहब ऐसे मत कीजिए।
लोग देख रहे तो कर रहा है, लोग देख रहे तो कर रहा है।
किसने हक दिया आपको हाथ उठाने का?
अगर फिर से कोई ऐसी गलती करेगा तो मैं छोड़ूंगा नहीं।
सर आप लाइव हैं एनडीटीवी पर।
मैं सही बात कर रहा हूँ तो
आपकी जो आवाज है,
आप मेरी आवाज ब्रेक मत कीजिए, मेरा पूरा सुन लीजिए।
देखा है, सबने सुना है।
मैं तुम्हारी बात नहीं करूंगा। ये क्या पद्धति है? ये बात करते हैं तो मैं नहीं करूंगा बात इनसे।
गायकवाड़ साहब ऐसे मत कीजिए।
लोग देख रहे तो कर रहा है, लोग देख रहे तो कर रहा है।
He wants to throw punches, he wants to throw slaps, but he can't take normal questions.
Well, in the latest episode of Control All Defense, we are talking about a platform that all of you want to hear about, that's Tejas. The big question, we do know it's a great platform, but is it of use for the Indian Air Force going into the future? How relevant will it remain?
जनता के पास सवाल ही सवाल है। जवाब ढूंढने को वो देखती है न्यूज़ और देखती है यहाँ तो सवालों का माया जाल है। ऊपर से ये अलग फाइट है, कोई पूरा लेफ्ट तो कोई पूरा राइट है। बीच में मुद्दे के साथ कौन है, जनता को जवाब चाहिए। इसीलिए सवालों की परेड नहीं, मैं लाऊंगा खबरों की कचहरी। मैं शुभांकर मिश्रा, मेरे साथ देखिए कचहरी रात 8 बजे सिर्फ एनडीटीवी इंडिया पर।
कहना इस दीवार पे इतने इश्तहार चिपके हैं कि कोई दरार नजर नहीं आती। मैं उन लोगों में से जो कहता हूँ सारे इश्तहार फाड़ के फेंको, पहले दरार को एड्रेस करो।
ये दरार इसलिए क्योंकि कुछ लेफ्ट कुछ राइट, पर हम उन मुद्दों में आपके साथ जिनसे आपकी फाइट है। डिजिटल से देश समझा, अब टीवी पर समाधान लाना है। आइए मेरे साथ खबरों की कचहरी में सिर्फ एनडीटीवी पर।
a 36-hour non-stop flight by a
1800
small pack of B-2s. A lot of other aircraft were all
Welcome back. You're watching World 24/7, and we shift our focus to Canada, where in a strong push for national security, Alberta has joined British Columbia in urging the federal government to label the India-based Lawrence Bishnoi gang as a terrorist organization. Premier Daniel Smith, Public Safety Minister Mike Ellis say the gang is a dangerous transnational network involved in extortion, targeted killings, and even drug trafficking right in Canada's heart. Now, this move comes amid rising concerns about threat to South Asian communities in Alberta, British Columbia, and also Ontario. Meanwhile, Edmonton's interim police chief has backed the call, saying the step would give police powerful new tools to dismantle such networks. Alberta is sending a clear message: you're not welcome here. Meanwhile, federal action could also unlock stronger law enforcement powers, which might be essential in fighting a gang whose global ties are now hitting the Canadian streets. My colleague Maha Siddiqui joins us for more on this straight from Vancouver. Maha, double-barrel question here for you. What specific incidents in Alberta are being linked to Bishnoi gang's operations? And also, what would change practically for law enforcement if this gang is officially labeled a terrorist entity?
So the first question with regards to what crimes have they been accused of in Canada. Remember, there was a firing outside singer AP Dillon's house here in Canada. That was linked to the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, and the killing last year of a gangster here in Canada itself was also linked to inter-gang rivalry here in Canada, in which the Lawrence Bishnoi gang's name came up. This is apart from the fact that the Premier of British Columbia around 2 weeks ago had said that there have been threats and extortion calls to a lot of businessmen, business people rather, the business community, not just in British Columbia, but also in Ontario and Alberta. And he linked those to these gangsters, specifically the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, saying he's writing to Prime Minister Mark Carney, asking the Lawrence Bishnoi gang to be listed as a terrorist organization, which now the Alberta Premier Daniel Smith, as well as the Public Safety Minister, has also said they've been backed by the interim Edmonton Police Chief as well. And here's where the answer to your second question comes. He says that this will provide them more tools as well as more power to act against crimes of this nature, crimes that are now spilling out on the streets in certain parts in Canada, especially where there is a high proportion of South Asian community. And this is a matter of public security now that both Alberta and British Columbia want to be tackled at the federal level.
Now, you very interestingly there mentioned the threat to the South Asian community. How are community members and even leaders reacting to the proposed terrorist designation in Alberta?
At least in British Columbia, the thrust or the pressure that has come on the Premier, on the NDP government here to take this matter up with the federal government, with Prime Minister Mark Carney, has come from complaints from the business community itself. The business community has been conveying to the government here, the administration here, that they feel threatened, that extortion calls are not allowing them to work with peace and flourish in this in certain specific pockets, as I already mentioned. And therefore, the thrust has come from the business community. They are the ones who have been pushing for action to be taken against these gangs. And while the governments here need to brace up and act against of the crimes that have happened here most recently in British Columbia, where we have seen a crime taking place outside the Cap's Cafe, Kapur Sharma's Cafe in Surrey. These are crimes that the Canadian federal government as well as the Canadian provincial governments need to crack down on. But so far, the British Columbia Premier also believes that to tackle this issue more effectively, this organization, this group of gangsters, the Lawrence Bishnoi gang, needs to be listed as a terrorist organization.
Thank you so much for your inputs there, Maha. Now we shift focus back to Southeast Asia, where West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has said that eminent filmmaker Satyajit Ray's ancestral home in Dhaka is being demolished by Bangladeshi authorities. However, the government of India has stepped up to cooperate with the government of Bangladesh to repair and reconstruct this ancestral property. The centuries-old house, as you see on your screens right now, in Dhaka's Hori Kishore Ray Chaudhary Road, belonged to Ray's grandfather, in fact, the renowned litterateur Upendra Kishore Ray Chaudhary. Now, in response, New Delhi has offered to step in and work with Bangladesh to restore and preserve the historic site. Meanwhile, recognizing its cultural significance and deep ties to the Bengal Renaissance, New Delhi has also proposed turning the property into a museum, celebrating literature and the shared heritage of both the nation that dates back all the way, for perspective, to 1971. In a statement, the Indian government said it would prefer a reconsideration of the demolition and is ready to cooperate fully in restoring this iconic landmark. Meanwhile, in Israel, the Ultraorthodox party, the United Torah Judaism, says it's quitting the Netanyahu government. Now, this comes as it is furious over a bill that would end draft exemptions for seminary students. The move comes as Israel's Supreme Court rules ultra-Orthodox Israelis must serve in the military. It's a deeply divisive issue, especially with the war in Gaza draining army resources. Meanwhile, Netanyahu now has 48 hours to salvage his coalition. If not, he'll be left with a razor-thin majority and a growing pressure from far-right partners who oppose any Gaza ceasefire. Truce talks, meanwhile, with Hamas continue, but there's been no deal reached yet. With the war raging and his government wobbling, Netanyahu's future is indeed looking more uncertain than it has ever before.
A key partner of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says it is pulling out of his coalition government. Now, this decision by the United Torah Judaism Party does not mean that the government is going to collapse right away, but it does complicate Netanyahu's ability to govern and especially to negotiate a ceasefire agreement with Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The UTJ is an ultra-Orthodox religious party, and it objects to efforts in Parliament to end exemptions from military service given to young religious men. This system of exemptions is controversial in Israel, and it has grown increasingly controversial during the past nearly 2 years while the country is at war. Netanyahu has about 48 hours to try to seek some sort of compromise with the UTJ, but if they do pull out of the government, he will be left with a narrow majority in Parliament. That means that he will be even more reliant on hardline partners who oppose major concessions to Hamas in these ongoing ceasefire talks. That makes it more difficult for Netanyahu to maneuver in these negotiations.
And well, over in Washington, Donald Trump is now calling on the Justice Department to release all credible files related to Jeffrey Epstein. But he says the final call rests with Attorney General Pam Bondi. Speaking at the White House Tuesday, Trump said Bondi has handled it very well, but repeated his claim that many of the Epstein files were in fact made up by Democrats. Now, that's a shift from his campaign trail promises to probably release everything now. Trump now faces a rare backlash from his own base. Also, some MAGA supporters are actually accusing the administration of covering up key details to protect powerful elites. Even top Republicans like House Speaker Mike Johnson and Trump's daughter-in-law Lara Trump are demanding more transparency in the matter. Meanwhile, tensions are rising inside the administration as well. Sources say Deputy FBI Director Dan Muningo is considering resignation after clashing with Bondi over whether an Epstein client list even exists or not. The Justice Department insists there is no list, no blackmail ring, and that Epstein died by suicide in 2019. But with right-wing influencers keeping their pressure on, this controversy isn't going away anytime soon. Now, meanwhile, President Trump has denied ever visiting Epstein's island and also says Pam Bondi has in fact told him his name is not in any file, if they so exist.
The Attorney General's handled that very well. She's really done a very good job. No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden.
And in a significant development following the global controversy over Prada's Kolhapuri-inspired sandals, a high-level team from the luxury fashion house has arrived in Kolhapur to initiate groundwork for a potential collaboration with local artists. You heard that right. This is the first of a two-part visit by the brand, which had come under fire only last month for showcasing sandals that closely resembled the Kolhapuris at the Milan Spring-Summer 2026 show, without acknowledging the crafts origins or India's artisan community as well. Now, the first team visited the Jawahar Nagar area, known for producing traditional Kolhapuri footwear, and also interacted with local artisans. The second delegation, meanwhile, is expected in the first week of August. It will include Prada's global business head, global communications head, and other senior corporate leaders. Meanwhile, listen in to one of the artisans the Prada team met.
पे आज प्राडा की टीम आई थी, जिसमें उनके 5 लोग आए थे टेक्निकल टीम से, और उन्होंने बहुत सारी हमारी कोल्हापुरी चप्पल की डिज़ाइंस देखी। हमारे कोल्हापुरी चप्पल कैसी बनती है वो भी हमने दिखाया। हमारे जो कुशल कारागिरी है उन्होंने सब दिखाया कि चप्पल हम कैसे बनाते हैं, कैसे सिलाई करते हैं। तो उनके पैर में पहनाने के बाद उनको वो अच्छी लगी और उन्होंने वो एक चप्पल खरीदी भी। और हमारी यही अपेक्षा है कि जब भी आगे काम चलेगा तो प्राडा हमारे कोल्हापुर से वो चप्पलें खरीदे और उनके प्राडा शोरूम पे वो सेल करें और कोल्हापुर का नाम हमारे जग भर में जाए।
And the news continues here with my colleague Divya up next. Don't go anywhere.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I'm bringing that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti, also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
India's IT capital is always bustling, a city full of startups, stories and surprises. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz. Vanakkam Tamil Nadu.
Well, the battle for Tamil Nadu 2026 is open now.
After Chief Minister Stalin rolls up his sleeves
And Vijay steps in as a star challenger. This is a mass gathering, not for cash.
Meanwhile, a former Chief Minister, Edappadi Palanisamy, begins his fight back.
The big comeback campaign by EPS has well and truly begun.
These are all the ultimate players, and this is going to be the ultimate test.
The markets move fast.
And so should your portfolio. Expert insights, real-time stock picks.
Do I buy Ola?
Should I hold CDSL for the long term?
Buy, sell or hold.
The answers you need, straight from the experts.
Callers from India.
Forja Singh hit and run case. The accused has been arrested. The NRI from Canada is the accused. The driver behind the wheel, the Fortuner SUV, has also been seized. In the language row, it's Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister defending the Hindi imposition as far as schools are concerned, citing ex-Prime Minister Narasimha Rao, saying that he learned 17 languages. Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka air battle with the Karnataka government there, cancelling land acquisition. Nara Lokesh there inviting the aerospace industry, saying we have better ideas. That is a jab at the Siddaramaiah government for stopping the land acquisition and saying, why don't you look at Andhra Pradesh instead? India's dog dilemma, with the top court there sinking its teeth into the issue while suggesting, why don't you feed them in your own house? The Supreme Court comes down heavily, says that, the spaces, outdoor spaces need to be safe for humans first. Well, this is Donald Trump's big comment on the India-US deal. Says we are going to have a trade access into India, and he's gone on to comment on that trade deal, saying they're close to securing a full access into India, and that deal could be on the lines of what the United States has inked with Indonesia. And after Kolhapuri Rao, it's the Prada team that's here in India. The Prada delegation meeting with the this is the Kolhapuri artisans. The Kolhapuri controversy after that, because it was the Kolhapuri chappals making it to the Prada runway. Now they're here to make amends. A very good morning. You're watching The Breakfast Show here on NDTV 24/7. I'm Divya Vadla. We have a whole lot lined up for you, including a major update when it comes to the Fauja Singh case, the 114-year-old runner who was killed in a hit-and-run case. Now, the accused has been arrested. The Fortuner vehicle has been seized. The Fortuner vehicle that had been identified, key clues that were found from the CCTV footage, and the broken headlight fragments that were collected. Multiple, police teams actively searched for the accused, and the search happened to be an NRI from Canada. So now an FIR has been registered in this particular case. This is Fauja Singh. Do remember, the iconic runner at 114 died not because of his age or health issues, but because he succumbed to his injuries due to that hit-and-run case that took place while he was out on a morning walk on Monday. This is Fauja Singh at the age of 114, and condolences that were pouring in from around the world, including the Prime Minister there, talking about his contribution when it comes to aspiring, particularly the youth in the country, and admiring Fauja Singh for that contribution. We have Gurpreet, my colleague, joining us. Gurpreet, take us through the details of this NRI who's finally been caught in this hit-and-run case. He didn't even stop to help the man, just let him be there and, succumb to those injuries. Take us through what details do we have of this NRI from Canada?
Well, we have seen the police have already arrested this NRI, and the further investigation is already underway. During the course of investigation, the police have already claimed he has already confessed this crime, and he was the one who was claiming that he was on the driving seat when this accident had taken place. He had just come back to India for the last 10 or 20 days. Further investigation is already underway. And we have seen in this investigation, the police have faced a lot of challenges because they were not able to procure any CCTV camera footage from the spot, but they were able to get some pieces of broken vehicle, and these pieces are being sent to the company, and after that they were able to get the make of that specific vehicle. Finally, late evening, we have seen they were able to get the registration number of the vehicle, and after that they conducted a raid, and where they had already arrested this NRI, and now further investigation will be taken place in this case, that why he was driving so fast on this highway and why did not he apply the brakes. So all the mechanical survey of the vehicle is already underway, so that they will be able to get proper investigation. They will be able to get a proper report whether he has applied to brakes to save Fauja Singh or not. These are the main angles which are being probed by the police at this point of time. Back to studio.
Right, Gurpreet, the 30-year-old NRI, originally from Kartarpur in Jalandhar, who lives with his family in Canada, was in fact, Jalandhar while this accident that took place, this hit and run. All details are awaited in the case. Thank you so much for joining us. Moving on, in a big win when it comes to farmers and setback for Karnataka, government's plan to set up an aerospace park in Bengaluru. It's the Chief Minister in Karnataka that's gone on to announce the complete withdrawal of the acquisition of that fertile land for the Karnataka Industrial Areas Development Board. The decision was taken following continuous protests from farmer groups, and also there's a twist. Now, Andhra Pradesh's Nara Lokesh has offered aerospace industry to come to Andhra Pradesh instead. Let's listen in to what Siddaramaiah had to say.
The notification entirely is dropped. Those who want to give lands to the government for the development of the industry, we will take such lands. With consent. With consent.
Well, we have my colleagues Deepak as well as Uma joining us. And Uma, over to you first. And Nara Lokesh there saying, look at Andhra Pradesh instead. And, you know, a real jibe hitting out at Siddaramaiah. But while Siddaramaiah has now decided to make that U-turn.
So Nara Lokesh, as the young IT and HRD Minister of Andhra Pradesh, has taken a very aggressive stance vis-a-vis getting investment into Andhra Pradesh, and that's the reason why he has seen an opportunity when the Karnataka Chief Minister has said that there is some land issue because farmers do not want to give up that land, and therefore land acquisition is going to be a problem for the 1,777 acres that we are talking about in Devanahalli, and therefore he's saying just across the border, very, very close by, is Andhra Pradesh, where you have 8,000 acres of ready-to-use land, and therefore we welcome you with the best in the industry kind of policy incentives that we are offering to you. I must point out that Mr. Naidu has, in fact, very recently also spoken about not just aerospace but also defense, and said that investment can come to Andhra Pradesh because we are ready to give you whatever you need in terms of land and other incentives as well. There was, of course, a little issue over the HAL that happened again between Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, and at that time Karnataka had responded saying that we will not allow relocation, and Mr. Naidu had clarified saying that we are not talking about relocation. We are asking for a new unit to be set up of the HAL in Andhra Pradesh because we are able to offer what they are not able to offer. Even when NDTV met with Nara Lokesh in Visakhapatnam, he had spoken about how he is giving land for 1 rupee or 99 paise to a TCS and a Cognizant, because he says he is taking something out of the Prime Minister's playbook, and when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat, how he attracted Tatas to Gujarat. Similarly, he says to Andhra Pradesh, I want to attract industry and I need to leverage what I have available. And in this case, it is land, and therefore that's what he's offering to the aerospace industry as well, to set up an aerospace hub with 8,000 acres of land and other incentives.
Right, let's just also get in there. Deepak joining us from Bengaluru. Deepak, a very significant and historic protest. That's how, Siddaramaiah has gone on to describe those protests, which went on for almost 3.5 years. And that's when finally this decision has now been taken after 3.5 years of intense protests by farmers.
Well, the Chief Minister is calling this a balanced approach that he's going ahead with. He says that, he acknowledges that this could possibly mean that, some of the industries could move out of Karnataka, but they keep...
What he says, yes, the agitation has been going on for quite some time. There have been several prominent personalities who've joined this agitation, Prakash Raj, the actor, being one of them. He also was with the Chief Minister yesterday when the announcement was made. The announcement now is very clear that the notification that the government will acquire a land in Devanahalli has completely been cancelled. But if there are any farmers which the government says there is, if they voluntarily want to come ahead and give the land, they will take it, and this is of course with their consent. Now, several questions of course will arise now that the opportunity presents itself for other states, not just Andhra Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh of course is eyeing for it, that whether this was the right move by the government. Here the farmers are saying it's extremely fertile land, that they want to go ahead with it, but we've seen around Devanahalli, which is next to the Bengaluru International Airport, the land prices are soaring. So is it a case where the farmers believe that, the government acquiring the land won't give them the good prices, and them privately eventually selling it will probably give better prices? Is that the ulterior motive here? That is something, of course, that the government should have decided. But right now they have buckled under pressure. And of course, one man's loss is another man's opportunity. And that's probably the situation that we're looking at the moment.
Right. Thank you so much, Deepak, for joining us with those details. And of course, like Deepak mentioned, that those willing farmers will be offered compensation above the guidance value and the developed plots in return as well. Well, Uma, stay with us for our next story. And this is coming out of Andhra Pradesh, and amid the ongoing row over the alleged imposition of Hindi in schools through the NEP, the National Education Policy. It is the Chief Minister, Chandrababu Naidu, that's defended that proposal, saying that it was former Prime Minister Narasimha Rao who learned 17 languages while weighing in and really wading through that language row. Uma, back with us. Uma, really take us through what has he said, while citing Narasimha Rao in this whole controversy.
Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister, was in Delhi to talk about PV Narasimha Rao And during that lecture is when he made a reference to Mr. Narasimha Rao being a polyglot. As all of us know, he knew more than a dozen languages and he was proficient in them. And he pointed out the contrast, saying that imagine someone like him and the heights to which he has taken India and the course of economic growth that he has given to the country. And he was a polyglot, knowing multiple languages. And here we are talking about objections being raised to learning Hindi. The stand of the Andhra Pradesh government, which of course has part of the NDA as well, has been that while we do not believe in imposition of the language, they believe that learning Hindi is going to be an advantage, not just because people from the northern states come and work in the south, people from the southern states go and work in the north of the country. They have also pointed out there's an economic imperative that is there in learning Hindi, and that we benefit by learning Hindi, and therefore there is nothing wrong with learning multiple languages, is what Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu, who is of course an important NDA ally, has said at the meeting in Delhi.
Right, thank you so much, Uma, for getting us all those details. Let's listen in to what Chandrababu Naidu had to say.
P.V. Narasimha Garu, I had a very good equation because we were all one state, from Telugu state at the time. He was a great statesman and also visionary. The Telugu community is proud of him. He was a student leader, a freedom fighter, a scholar fluent in 17 languages. Now we are all talking, why should we learn Hindi? Not only he learned Hindi, he has learned 17 languages. That is how he has become a great man.
Moving on now to Karnataka, the government contract worker Kumar has been allegedly, he's gone ahead and died by suicide after reportedly being harassed by cyber fraudsters who posed as CBI officials and digitally arrested him. He left behind a death note before hanging himself from a tree. In the note, he mentioned that he was threatened by someone called Vikram Goswami, who claimed that he was placing Kumar under digital address. This is now, let's just get in Deepak, my colleague, joining us again from Bengaluru in order to get us the details of this case. Deepak, a very drastic step that has been taken. How old was this man, and what really led him to take this drastic step, considering that, he claimed in his suicide note that he was being placed under digital arrest, and, what are the details that are emerging at this point?
Well, quite a shocking case, isn't it? We've seen, the menace of digital arrest. We've seen the Prime Minister, we've seen the central government itself try to address this issue time and again, but it seems like it continues to be a growing problem. This is a 40-year-old man. He was working with the electricity board in Bengaluru as a contract employee. And he goes to Chanpatna yesterday. He's found hanging to a tree. There's a death note that's found. The police, of course, are going through the death